And with us right now, we've got Jonathan Krueger. And Jonathan, you're the CEO and investment advisor at LionsGate Advisors, and you're the host of Living a Richer Life by Design podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you, Josh, for having me.
And start off, tell me what LionsGate does.
Yeah, that's a great question. LionsGate is one of the only faith-based St. Louis wealth management firms that's really positioned to quarterback with networked trusted advisors a plan to execute key investment and tax strategies to be able to manage wealth for families that are high income earners that are accruing their wealth, or for family offices and business owners that have already accomplished that goal.
And obviously you didn't start this right out of high school.
No.
So you had a little bit of a background in the space, and can you kind of explain your evolution and how you got to the point where you're able to start LionsGate?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's interesting is that I had spent some time in Russia back in 93 through 96. That was right after the perestroika, and it was my senior year of high school. I had the opportunity of being there and saw the hyperinflation. When I first got there, the ruble was 50 rubles per US dollar. And by the time I left, it was 5,000 rubles per US dollar. So you can only imagine if someone was living off $5,000 a month here in the US, thinking that they had a comfortable retirement. And then, 3 years later, it wasn't worth it wasn't worth anything other than the loaf of bread. It really puts it into perspective for that inflationary time frame or deflationary time frame for their dollar. And it impacted me in such a way because I saw a gentleman that was able to give out of his abundance and be able to walk around to people that were in need as they ministered to people there in St. Petersburg. And it impacted me so much that I wanted to go into international business and finance to really be able to live out my own faith and be able to give to others. And that's really inspired me to go into this business. Fast forward 23 years, and I actually met him on a business trip that we had, and come to find out he's in the same line of work. And that was just too cool. I thought he was in international finance, and I had no idea that he was in wealth management. Yeah. And, to kind of see that come full circle. So our goal and how we developed LionsGate Advisors was I had worked my way up in the field of finance, working with Citigroup. And working with Citi, it was actually the marketing division of Citigroup called Primerica, and where we taught people how to become debt-free and financially independent through trying to help change behavior. But I very quickly learned that the system was set up to be able to be most beneficial to the broker-dealer or to the firm that I represented, rather than to the individual. And I knew there had to be a better way. So started doing research on what it meant to be a fiduciary and how to align myself with the company or create a company that could ultimately do that to make the best decisions that's in the best interest of our clients and the consumer versus just what the companies were trying to push for their bottom line. And so we started LionsGate really with that perspective of how do we create this virtual office where everyone wants to have a quarterback, but no one really does. And an example of that is we found that most families were struggling with three different areas and across the board, regardless of their wealth or the accumulation of that. And if you'd like, I could share those with you.
Yeah. And Jonathan, one thing that you've mentioned a few times now is the impact of faith on what you do professionally. And so, and there are many, many people who listen to this program and they do allow their faith to kind of guide them, but they might be in a job that they consider to be a little bit unfulfilled or unfulfilling. And so obviously, when you go out on your own, it requires a bit of faith that this thing's going to work.
Right.
But how did you how did your beliefs guide you during that process?
Oh, great question.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that.
Yeah, I love it.
Most people of faith, I don't want to tell you about that. It's too personal.
I absolutely love it. Josh, for my wife and I, we really took the opportunity into careful consideration on whether or not we should uproot our family, move from Colorado Springs to St. Louis. And, we really went through to identify, are there any roadblocks? Is there anything that would suggest otherwise? And so we went to went to the Lord in prayer, and then we also really staked our claim on what promises do we have for knowing that God's directing us in whatever endeavor that we have. And Deuteronomy in the Old Testament of the Bible, there's a book called Deuteronomy. It's within the first 5 books, and it's Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 1 through 14. Really talk about the blessing that God has planned for us. And we believe that all of God's blessings and promises, both to the Jewish nation as well as to ourselves, are fulfilled through the finished work of Christ Jesus. And so for us, being able to live out that faith really meant being able to walk in obedience of saying, yeah, when there's an opportunity and all the doors are open, let's walk through that door prayerfully and with being bold and courageous, and lay hold to a promise and plant our flag. And man, if we had not had that clarity, Josh would be able to move out here to St. Louis and be able to build something from scratch. It would have been easy just to be able to tuck our tail and go back home, right? Yeah. As so many of us know as entrepreneurs, when you have to build something based off of a dream and what you feel called to, it requires everything of you in order to do that well. And
I would imagine that there's some significant investments. I mean, did you start off with office space and everything?
Well, my business partner and I, he had been living in Columbia, Missouri. His wife is a family physician. And so he had a practice in Columbia, Missouri, and chose that he wanted to partner with someone more as a succession plan. And so he and I went into business together. His name is Jason Ingram. And we opened up our office here in St. Louis. And yeah, it was the full capital requirement of opening an office, the rebuild of that, as well as the furniture and all the marketing and collateral costs. So really, it wasn't walking into a system that was already in place. It was having to build everything from scratch.
Yeah. And of course, the biggest thing then is building up your book of business. And so what are you doing at the beginning to start drumming up business?
Well, as most people, I would hope that they go out and start networking, right? Yeah. And we had to get really clear. I felt like in Colorado, we kind of felt like the big fish in a small pond, where anything we touched would turn to gold. And whether it was doing direct mailing or through networking, we just had a great response. But when it came to the St. Louis, I didn't realize the competitive nature of the environment. And, the St. Louis itself has the 3rd highest concentration of financial advisors in the nation. No idea.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's right. No idea. So we literally, in Chesterfield alone, there's over 2,900 financial advisors and insurance agents. And in the greater St. Louis metro area, there's over 34,000. And if I gotten those numbers mixed up, then it would be the other way around. It'd be 2,400 financial advisors in Chesterfield and 39,000 in St. Louis. Sometimes I confuse myself. But the point is, it's a high concentration, 3rd highest in the nation, second to Boston. Boston is second, and the number 1 is New York. So when we came into the St. Louis market, we had no idea. The first thing we did was try all of our original marketing strategies that we'd used in Colorado with direct mails, seminars, educational events, client events, and joining the local BNI as well as the Chamber of Commerce. And really, from the beginning, it wasn't easy. Kind of learning how to be able to position and posture ourselves for creating additional value meant that we had to be able to unleash hell, if you will, from the standpoint of that movie from Gladiator. Yeah. Maximus is saying, on my mark, unleash it all, and to win the battle. And we had to go out there willing to be able to sacrifice a little bit of lifestyle in order to be able to create the momentum that helped us build the systems we have in place today.
Yeah. And so, again, you're out networking, you're doing the events. So when do you start to accumulate some decent activity? Because I know today you're very successful.
Yes, sir.
But what were the steps to kind of gain that momentum?
Yeah, and that's a great question. We started a book club with our staff early on, and each week we'd read a chapter of a different book, and we've been doing that for the better part of 4.5 years now, almost 5. And we've had different staff members come and go, and so the team has grown and developed. But what's been consistent is having that canaille attitude, that constant, never-ending improvement.
Hey, you're Tony Robbins guy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so really being able to use and identify books kind of as a resource almost for prescribing a drug or a prescription for what our team needed to help grow to the next level. So there are two books that really helped us. One book is called Secret Service. That really helped us identify how do we create a Ritz-Carlton type of experience for our clients as well as our staff. Another was really taking a look at the Great Game of Business. That helped us be able to identify how to have an open book management with our team. And then dialing in for reading the book Profit First by Michael Michalowicz, looking at how to be able to use that same money envelope kind of budgeting system that you might have personally into a business to be able to help mitigate the seasonality of cash flow. And so when we did that as a team and grew the team, and most recently over the past year and a half, through those books and those exercises, we put in place, we didn't just read it, we actually put into place the processes and systems to help us be able to leverage what we learned.
And then it sounds like as well, Jonathan, one thing you've done a lot of great work around is culture. And can you talk a little bit about, obviously, constant never ending improvement, personal development. Sounds like faith is a big part, obviously, of the work that you do. Any other things that you would advise to other leaders who are looking to instill this culture within their organizations?
Yeah, you got to be consistent, right? So there's another book called The Slight Edge, and it really talks
Jeff
about
Olson, man.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man.
We have been in the same circles. Oh, well, he had connections to Primerica.
Well, I didn't know that. I just was introduced to him by his book.
Yep.
And Jeff, man, he wrote a great book that really talked about those things that you do consistently over time and what the edge that will create for you and your team. And a culture is the same way. You've really got to be able to defend your culture. Pardon me. And part of that would mean what do you do consistently to build the culture for each week on Wednesdays, or every other week, I should say, we'll do a sharpen the saw. And we'll look at what are those things that we're doing well now, who can we praise for those things that have been exemplified for the values that we have, and then what are areas that we can be able to continue to grow in. And so it's looking for an opportunity to continue to develop, and it's built around our core values. And our core values are relentless execution, excellence, and empowerment. And by being guided by our core values, it's helped us be able to maintain and continually develop a culture.
Yeah. And so in terms of your success of your office right now, would you mind kind of sharing maybe, who you serve, the kind of volume that you guys are doing today, just so people go, oh, okay, all right, these guys are doing well.
Right. And so thank you for that. We've really primarily focused our business towards the ultra net worth, high net worth, the affluent families and business owners, those who have tax problems, where they're having to pay more than $50,000 a year in taxes, seems to be where a lot of our strategies start to unfold, to really collaboratively work with their CPAs and attorneys, whether business attorneys or estate planning attorneys, to develop key strategies to mitigate the tax liability that they have. Each of these tax strategies can be utilized for anyone that's having to pay taxes. Of course, we'd all like to keep more of what we make, and how to be able to be good stewards of what we have. And so we've just found that because of the amount of time that we have, it's easier for us to focus on working alongside with, we are a multifamily office. We serve other family offices as the life insurance asset manager. We found that most policies that were used for estate planning or as an alternative asset class were 90% of policies were structured poorly, were not funded correctly, had the wrong ownership, or currently were mismanaged. We also found that when we're working with families around setting expectations for communication within the family, most families hadn't thought about how to be able to develop a plan based off their own goals for a legacy generationally that would go on perpetuity. So when it's working with families, you can have a family with little net worth to a significant net worth that really needs that guidance. And that's where we focus our attention.
what is it? What do you do to attract the attention of high net worth individuals, and how is that unique versus just like mass marketing on sides of buses and stuff?
Yeah. Well, we haven't found mass marketing to work really well.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
the, I know a lot of advisors are turning towards, doing radio or TV. I found that it really comes from developing those centers of influence
Yes.
and the relationships, and really having an incredible service to follow that up with.
You're preaching to the choir, my friend.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Keep telling me more.
No. Yeah. So one of the books I absolutely love, and Josh, you probably know him. Do you know John Ruhlin?
I know the name.
Okay, you've got to meet John. John wrote a book called Giftology.
Yes, I have read that. Yep, and I saw him speak at Social Media Marketing World.
Yeah. John's a friend of mine. He's part of I'm in C12. He and I belong to a C12 group, which C12 is a Christian CEO peer advisory board, similar to that of EO or Vistage, but more from a biblical worldview. And we're part of that group together. And just his insights on how to be able to incorporate gifting as part of the follow-up and part of how you differentiate yourself in your marketplace. And that truly has been a game changer for us.
Yeah. We need to talk.
Yes, sir.
I'll share with you what we're doing. It's like in that same vein, and it absolutely works. And so one thing I know about high net worth individuals is they are not going to spend time in a traditional sales funnel. So if you're just doing Facebook ads and then you're going to try them to, buy a book, free plus shipping, and then,
Right.
It's like they're going to attend this webinar. They're not going to do any of that stuff. They're too busy.
Right. Yeah, it really comes out of having a need and awareness of what you do. And I think that's where we stand out.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, Jonathan Krueger, again, congratulations on all your success. You certainly have a lot of industry accolades as well. Both within the investment world, and then looks like you're pretty involved in your local community as well, and making sure you're well connected there. But so congratulations on all that. Again, you're the CEO and investment advisor at LionsGate Advisors. You're host of Living a Richer Life. I'm sorry, what's the full name of the podcast?
Living a Richer Life by Design.
Living a Richer Life by Design. So as you're listening to this podcast right now, you just hit up in your podcast directory. You can find that same podcast. And Jonathan, what will they hear on that podcast? And also, if you would, maybe share where else people could kind of begin that relationship with LionsGate.
Oh, thank you, Josh. So we developed Living a Richer Life by Design podcast from out of a need that we had for our clients to be able to pass on some of the information that we're teaching financially onto their kids and to their grandkids. And so we started really kind of looking at how do you develop not only financially, but also social responsibility, whether it be a new worldview or a biblical worldview, or taking a look at experts on different topics of economics or health or psychology. And we build out Living a Richer Life by Design to bring on those published speakers to be able to discuss those topics at large. And really, it's been a lot of fun. I think we're just close to 100 episodes now that we've recorded.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. And so we found that to be helpful for both individuals, families, and also business owners, as we've interviewed many people like yourself that are experts in their field. And so one of the things that we've done outside of that to be able to help families or business owners kind of get an idea of what is their asset. If you're a business owner, you're looking for what is my business really worth, right? Either one day to sell it or to be able to pass it on to your kids. And so we've had on our website a link that allows for you to get a free valuation of the business. And that's also where you can find Living a Richer Life by Design. You can go to our website, LionsGate, which is not the entertainment company. It's LionsGate Advisors, spelled the same. And you go there and you're able to click on a link that would allow you to have a free valuation of the business, or also to
let's tell people how they get this. So you go to LionsGate Advisors, because John, I'm not going to joke. You're doing that for free. That's like a $1,500, like that's Absolutely. A pretty standard $1,500 value to do a basic valuation. And so I'm on the page right now. So you go to lionsgateadvisors.com, hover over services, and then click on business succession. And that's how
right.
you'll get that. There's a little gold button right there. You click on that. Dude, let's partner.
Yeah.
Let's do some stuff, because I would love to have a valuation. So
well, I'm
gonna be the first one's going to jump on that.
Great. Yeah. And Josh, that's something that you could go in, you can get it started, and then you can send a link to your CPA or your bookkeeper.
Yes.
And have them fill out all the data. Right.
Yeah.
So if you're me, you're running 1,000,000 miles an hour, you just delegate that to your CFO or one of the other folks on your staff that has all those numbers, and they can plug it in. Then that will generate a report, and I'll be back in touch with you to be able to review that with you. And what it shows, this is not a certified valuation. So a certified valuation is something you would take to court to be able to say, hey, I'm in a divorce or I'm in a settlement. This is what it is. But this is certainly something that we're using with banks and CPA firms currently. And the CPAs typically, if they have the time, they're going to charge a greater fee for that, and that's about $1,500. For a full certified valuation, you may spend $3,500.
Oh, yeah.
With this, we're providing it complimentary, but it certainly provides that value of if it wasn't certified for a court purpose, but you need to have a benchmark, and you certainly can use it with your bank, this would be a great resource for you.
Brilliant, brilliant. Jonathan Krueger, thank you so much for joining us again. The website, LionsGateAdvisors.com. Hover over services and then click on business succession for the free valuation. Thank you. That's very, very generous. And again, that's part of that, give first philosophy. It absolutely works.
Absolutely.
And if marketers don't really get that at this point, they're going to painfully get that point as we continue in the years ahead. So thank you so much, Jonathan, for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Josh.